Okay, so has this ever happened to you? It's dinner time almost. What am I going to cook? Oh, I'm tired. I've had a busy day. I got to get dinner on the table. Well, that's happened to me more than once. And not so long ago, that happened. I went to the grocery store, to the frozen food area, right? What can I find? Those packaged things that are there. Oh, but scrolling, oh, some of them taste like paste, and I don't know about that one. And then I see this package that's got a full-on picture of what really looks like delicious, already grilled chicken, like fajita chicken. And then I saw one with beef and others. I thought, chicken, that's easy. And it said, ready to go. I thought, okay, I can throw this on and do a little pasta, or I figured that out. Well, it was called John Soul's Foods. I was impressed. It was really good, and I kept buying it. And then I decided, I haven't had anyone on the show that is this big of a distributor of really, really good frozen meats. And that's what we're going to talk about today because he's here. So stay tuned.
Welcome to our podcast, Doing It Right. This podcast reveals authentic stories from successful leaders doing it right. It's about their journey to become a leader, their choices, motivations, and lessons. In essence, how they built successful personal brands. Your host is Valerie Sokolosky, author of 8 leadership books and nationally known as an authority on executive presence and personal branding. Let's get started. Here's Valerie.
Okay, so wait till you hear about the John Soul's family-owned, still as of today from 1975, family-owned business that is a multi-million-dollar enterprise today because they're good, like I said. And John Souls himself is going to talk to us about this. Just before we start, don't forget the sponsor today is Gems of Jaipur. Fabulous jewelry made in India, and it's a mission with a purpose, jewelry with a purpose, because all of the proceeds go to missions, Christian missions in India, and one of the missions is to feed a leper community. So Tina Jacobson, the founder, actually is giving a discount for my listeners. That means you, a 25% discount. Just go to Gems of Jaipur. I believe that's the name of it. Yep, Gems of Jaipur. I want to make sure that it's right on your internet that you're going to. And when you go to buy something, just put in the code Valerie and you'll get the 25% discount. All right, let's start the show. John Souls, you are the co-owner of this fabulous food service. I can't wait to hear about it. So my first question to you is, besides welcome.
Thank you, Valerie.
Do you cook?
I do cook. I cook a lot. And that's the funny thing is that my wife makes fun of me because I don't bring home our foods very often. My kids always are wanting it, and I try it all day long. And
do you?
So, yeah.
Right?
And so it's something to where I don't bring it home, but I'll come and I'll find that she's bought it at the grocery store, and I'm like, why did you buy it? And she goes, well, you never bring it home, so I'm just going to go buy it.
What is that? The carpenter has no shoes?
I guess, I guess I'm not very smart. I should be bringing some more stuff home. But
I think you're very smart. Yeah. And to be listed as one of the top food processing companies in the whole country, that's really an honor. So tell us from the beginning, it's a family-owned business. What was it like, first of all, growing up in that? Yeah, how did it start?
So my dad and his 2 uncles started it in the 70s and 1975, and it was an extremely small direct store delivery, really raw hamburger patties that we were selling to Sonics and Whataburgers and in places like that. And,
so he liked to cook.
So our whole family loves to cook. Well, my brother maybe not so much, but my dad and I love to cook. It was a really, really small business. My brother came to work for the company in 1980. My dad had bought his 2 uncles out in 1985. Okay. And then my brother came to work for us in 1987. And I think we were doing about maybe $2 million a year then.
Same product?
Well, just the raw hamburger patties and just really, really basic type stuff.
Okay.
And in a really, really small facility. And my brother came to work for us in 1987 and grew the business pretty much by himself, or he and my dad, to about $12 million. And we got into another facility. Then I came to work for the company when I graduated from the University of Texas in Austin in 1993. And so in April Fool's Day, it was Good Friday, April 1st. It was Good Friday and April Fool's Day. I pull up to our main facility and it's on fire. On fire and burned for 3 days.
Oh no.
Yeah. So I called
What caused it? What caused it?
It was an electrical ballast that was close to a box room that we had that exploded and started smoldering some papers in an office. And then that office was next to a box room, so it had plenty of fuel, at that point. So that was rough. That was not a great time. But it was strange because one of our facilities was down, obviously, and the other one was not. And what we started making out of the other ones in 1980, started in about 1988 doing it, but there was this pretty new thing called fajitas. And so that's all we had to sell for about 60 days till we could find another facility, get equipment in and start running. And that's all we had to sell. And so it actually went pretty well. We actually made money out of that facility. We were shocked.
And I'm still buying it.
Right, exactly. So what happened then was we said, okay, well, let's get back to, what we do. And so we built a new facility, combining two small facilities into one, and, started really selling raw marinated products that you would take home and you would grill. So to restaurant chains and a little bit to grocery stores. And then in 2000, that business had grown so much that we decided to stop doing hamburger patties. So we didn't do that anymore, and then really just concentrated on what we call in the industry value-added products. And in 2000, we decided to build a facility just to cook and start cooking. And Sam's and Walmart had approached us, said, well, your raw fajitas that people take home and cook are doing really, really well. You ever thought about doing fully cooked?
They said that to you.
So we built the facility in Tyler, and still that's where our corporate office is today. And we've got 4 cook lines in there that each produce around 25 million pounds a year. So we sell about 100 million pounds out of that facility.
Say that again.
About 100 million pounds of products out of that facility, of fully cooked products.
And that's just this facility.
Right. And then in 2014, we bought a company called ProView Foods, located in Gainesville, Georgia. And all we do in Tyler is grilled products, so marinated grilled products. In Gainesville, they did breaded products. And so we bought this company and said, okay, well, we've got lots of sales channels that they don't have. They were mainly just a school supplier, CN label, child nutrition label for schools. He said, wow, we think we could sell them to restaurants. We think we could sell them to grocery stores. And so decided to buy them. And it's been a great purchase for us. And that facility produces about 60 million pounds a year. And it's sold to, again, to grocery stores and schools and restaurant chains, but it's all fully cooked breaded products.
Now, have you been to Frozen?
Yes.
At that point?
Yep.
Frozen.
Yeah.
Okay.
So in Tyler, we sell both fresh and frozen grilled. So you'll see it in the fresh counter by the lunch meats, and you'll also see it in the frozen section, like you said. And then that went really well, and so we just completed building a new facility right outside of Auburn, Alabama, and we built 2 more lines there, but it has the ability to have 5 lines, and so when it is up and totally running, it will produce about 250 million pounds a year. And
wow.
So we've got the first 2 lines running, and we're already starting on the next 2 lines to get them up and going. So I go to Alabama and Georgia a lot.
A lot.
Right.
That's amazing. Give us some numbers. Just, when you came on board, it was at this level. We talked at the pre-interview, which you listeners know I always do, to get to know the person. And to where it is today.
Yeah.
I mean, the growth has been a blessing, a real blessing.
It's been a blessing. God has had a hand in our business, from the beginning. And my brother and my dad and I are all pretty religious people, and truly believe that if it wasn't for him, we would have nothing. And we know that God believes in hard work and diligence, but nothing happens without his hand, involved. So when my brother started, again, it was about $2 million a year in sales. When I came on board, it was about $12 million a year in sales. And then, I think this year we'll do somewhere around 700 million. And I've got a sales meeting with our whole team across the country in November, and we're laying out a plan to get to that illustrious $1 billion mark at some point. So we'll see. We'll see. We think in the next 2 to 3 years, somewhere around in there. So,
that's really amazing and well deserved. Hard work.
It's been a lot of hard work, a lot of time away from family, and things like that.
So I want to know about family. I know you've got a drop dead gorgeous wife. I saw her picture, Sherry.
Thank you, Sherry. Yes.
On Facebook, I had to look you up on Facebook, and 2 gorgeous little girls.
Yes, Mary Peyton and Layla.
And so here you are with this family, and you're as busy as you are. How do you, John? How do you balance that?
I try not to be gone more than 2 to 3 nights a week, and then a lot of times I'll just take an entire week off and make sure I'm spending lots of time with the family. But I'm home every weekend, and I make sure that I try to go to games and do all those things. But typically I'll leave on a Monday or Tuesday and be back by Wednesday or so, and try to do as much as I can. One thing we learned, I think, about the pandemic is that you don't really have to be all the places you thought you had to be.
Isn't that true?
So our CFO lives in Alabama. Our director of marketing lives in Ohio. So it has, I think, really freed up a lot of things that you can do. You realize you don't have to do face to face. Although I truly do believe face-to-face and personal relationships are the way that we've grown our business. I know that will never stop, but certainly it's not as important as it used to be, seems like.
And that's been, I think, a major lesson. There's been, we all get tired of all that's bad about the pandemic, but there have been some silver linings. And
there have been.
I think that's one of them. So what is it like? There are many listeners who are in a family-owned business. What's it like? What are the challenges and what are the joys?
Yeah. Family is tough. It's my dad and I are very much alike, and so we tend to clash probably more than my brother and I. My dad's chairman of the board, and he's been semi-retired for probably 20 years, but he still gets involved, still knows what's going on, and so there's been some challenges, but my brother and I are not much alike at all, and so we actually mesh really well.
Oh, that's good.
He really defers to me on the things that I'm really good at, and I defer to him on the things that he's probably more proficient at than I am. And
so who are you and who's he?
So I am the finance, operations, quality assurance, research and development guy.
Okay.
And he's mostly in sales. Although I do some sales for some of the national restaurant chains that tend to be a little bit more particular and a little bit more in depth in how you sell them. So we both have our bailiwicks that we do,
which is good.
Yeah, and so it goes well. But the great thing about family is that you can get mad at each other and maybe say some things that you wish you could take back, and know that at the end of the day they're still family and there's no hard feelings, and you just continue to grow and we learn about each other every day is the other thing.
Do you?
So
like
sure.
What?
So, just how, you respond, I think, to certain situations. Like, I might never have known how Mark would have responded to a problem without, us experiencing those things, together and seeing how he responds. And when we had the fire, I called him and he was in Miami in front of a big customer. The customer happened to be an ex-fireman. And so I called him and I said, "Hey, I've got some really bad news. I'm standing, in front of the facility and it's on fire." And
You said it calmly like that?
I did. And he said, it's April Fool's Day. Like, you would not do that to me, right? And I go, no, I wouldn't do that to you. And so, and the guy sitting across from him, heard me kind of describe, what was going on, and I don't think was a real comfort, as far as I think he told him, oh man, it sounds like it's total loss.
This is pretty bad.
It's pretty bad. Yeah.
So I always ask teachable points of view, meaning your lessons learned. What are a few things that you personally have learned in the journey so far?
Well, first of all, I think, work hard and do everything you can do, but still understand that God's in control. And if He wants something to happen a certain way, it'll happen that way. And there've been many, many times where I've gone, I just don't see how this is going to work out. I just don't see how I'm going to keep this customer if they had a problem or whatever it was. And it always works out. It does. And then I think too that business is simple.
Business is simple.
Business is simple.
Did you hear that, listeners, watchers?
Yeah, it is not hard. And so if you're going to do a football analogy, it's not about whether, what offense you're running. It's not about, whether you're doing a veer or a run and shoot or the wishbone or, whatever you're running these days, or a spread attack or whatever it is. If you block and tackle, then it doesn't really matter.
And you stay in the game.
And you stay in the game, and you work hard, and you give it everything you've got, and you just do the basics. You take care of your employees. That's number one. Yeah. You try to produce quality product. For us, the main thing is food safety. We have to know that our products are safe because, as you pointed out, they're ready to eat right off the shelf. Yes. So a person could literally take a bag, open it up, and eat it in their car, right then. And so, they have to know that product is safe. So that's a big thing for us. But, just taking care of the customers, taking care of your employees, doing the right things, being honest.
Doing it right.
And being honest and being upfront with your customers and just saying, hey, I'm just going to be honest with you. I've got a problem. And, I'm not going to ship you all the product that you want or whatever it is. And most of the time, that works out just fine.
So what's a funny thing maybe that's happened in the business?
Well, there's been
behind the scenes.
Yeah, there's definitely been lots of things happen over the years I'm not sure. There's a group of about 10 to 15 of us that really, really run the business.
Okay.
And so, we always say, if we're not laughing, we're not having fun. And it's all about making sure at the end of the day that everybody's got a smile on their face, so you're just having a good time. And sometimes that's at sometimes that's at your expense, and sometimes at the customer's expense, and things like that. And so we played a trick on a customer one time, and he's a good friend. Otherwise, I would never. I would never do it. And so we kept sending samples in for them to try, and they said, well, it's just it's not matching exactly like we want to, and we said okay, and we had done it's called a triangle test. We had done our triangle test, and we thought it matched perfectly. So, and again, I want to stress to your listeners, I would never do this to somebody that didn't know. But we set the samples up and put all the samples of his control, and said, which one is ours, and we, there's 3 samples, and he said, see, I knew I'd be able to tell, and sample B is yours, and it doesn't match. And so we all started laughing, and we said, I'm sorry to tell you, but those are all yours. And so, but he understood the point, which was in food and things like that. We test things organoleptically, and everybody's taste buds are different, and everybody's everything's different. Mm-hmm. So we're actually doing a lot of work with the University of Auburn. And they have things called electronic noses and electronic tongues that can actually pick things out, such as the amount of salt, the amount of sweet, bitter, sour, things like that. And then that's something that we can then put in front of a customer and say, you know what, our product has the exact same attributes as what you're buying. And when you get it in front of 5 people, you're going to have 5 different flavor profiles that pop out to each of us individually.
That's so interesting. Well, that's like wine. We know that different people have different taste buds in wine.
Yep.
Fascinating.
And I love wine, so.
I do too. So, John, what if you were to write a book, what would you title it? Everyone has a book in them, you know.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I've never been asked that question.
That's good.
You know, I think just a family's journey.
Oh,
You know, all of our daughters and sons and wives and everybody's extremely vested into the company. And I asked my daughter, my oldest daughter, I said, what are you thinking that you want to do? And she goes, well, I want to be the CEO of John Souls Foods. And I said, do you know what CEO means? And she goes, nope. She goes, I just know it's your title. I said, okay. And then I asked her little sister, and she goes, oh, I just want to help sister out. That's all I want to do.
That's great.
So it's a family affair. It really is.
Yeah.
And that's what makes it, a lot of fun, but challenging, at the same time. And, I've gotten to know some just wonderful people, in the industry, and made some really lifelong friends, and it's just been a lot of fun. I've just had a great time doing it, and you meet a lot of, it's really a pretty small industry. People move. So let's say somebody, works at a particular big restaurant chain, and, where they typically move is they don't move necessarily out of the industry. They just move to a different chain or somewhere along the line. So, and we have what we call 5 different sales channels. So
Okay.
our main sales channel is retail. We call retail, which is grocery stores. And then we also do quite a bit of what we call broadline distribution. So if you've seen Cisco trucks, U.S. Foods trucks, PFG trucks running up and down the street, Benny Keith here in Dallas is another one. So that's a big segment of our business. National restaurant chains, is another. So we do some business with Jack in the Box and Papa Murphy's Pizza and Subway and all those types of customers. Then we do a lot for schools. We sell a lot to schools who
That makes a lot of sense.
put it on menus and things like that. And then we sell where you would never see our name, but it's our product, inside of it. And so we call it industrial sales. So it's someone who's taking our product and then using that as an ingredient into something else.
Okay.
A bowl, a salad.
Right.
So when you're on the fresh aisle buying fresh salads that have chicken in them, it's a really good shot. That's ours.
Oh, I would have never thought of that.
And then if you go and you buy Asian brands in the freezer, there's a large Asian brand that we do a lot of chicken for. So it's
You're all over the place.
Yeah, we really are. People don't realize, they just think it's on the shelf. But if you're eating at a Mexican food restaurant in the Dallas, Houston, Austin, San Antonio area, I mean, there's a really good shot. It's ours, and maybe it's their recipe that we follow. But we're the ones making it, putting into a case, and then shipping it to them.
So fascinating to hear all this. And one other question about the business behind the scenes. So I know that things are not just hamburger patty to customer or the product to the customer. There's all this other stuff, like, as you said, the safety, the AI, the artificial intelligence aspect. So what other things are of interest, do you think, to someone listening?
In the food business, robotics haven't been a big thing because it's been so expensive, and we're in a very tight labor market. Margins are not huge; they're pretty thin. So that has not been something that we've done a lot of. However, in our new facility in Alabama, we put on past, I would call it post packaging. So once the product is packaged, then getting that into a box, getting it labeled, getting it palletized. We went with all new robotics company out of Minnesota that that did a bunch of stuff for us. And that's probably the neatest, kind of most interesting thing that we're doing. It's really neat to sit and watch a Fanic robot pick up.
That's what I want to know.
Right, pick something up and know how to turn it, place it into a box. How many go into the case, and then just never stop. And we decided to do that not because we don't love our employees, but everybody is struggling with labor right now. It's just really a tough market right now. And in those jobs that we did eliminate quite a bit of jobs, but the jobs that are there are $30 to $40 an hour jobs. I mean, they're
That's great.
Yeah, they're very good jobs because you have to have some skill to run those robots and do those things. So that's really neat. And then we have these manless. They look like a little table. That's what they look like. And what they do is they've mapped your facility, and they have cameras on all four sides of them. And then they will go and pick up, let's say, a pallet of finished product. They will pick it up, take it to a station to be labeled on all four sides, and then take it to the truck. And no human being, no
seriously,
no nothing. And so you see these little robots, kind of running around and wondering what they're doing, where they're going, and they just end up going somewhere. And they bring they bring what we call dunnage. They'll bring boxes to the line. They'll bring film to the line. When someone calls for it, they'll go pick it up and then take it to the line. So I don't have employees running back doing that, nor do I have a manned forklift. That tends to be one of the more dangerous positions, and we've had very few accidents over the years, but the ones that we do usually involve somebody on a forklift that maybe not necessarily paying attention, but just, they've got a blind spot or just something, something happens. And so that eliminates really all of that, because it can see everything. And so you step in front of it, it just stops and, waits for you to move. So it's pretty neat.
You need to put pictures on the site of that.
Yeah, I think we will. When we get that facility really up and going where we want to, we're going to post some videos and we're going to do some time-lapse stuff of it being built and things like that. So.
And, speaking of videos, one thing an audience, I want you to know, I went online, obviously, for our interview, but I also found something that was very interesting to me, and I haven't seen it on other sites. Not that I've gotten to 10 million. But on your site, you've got recipes and showing us what to do.
Yes.
So I hadn't really seen that. I just have been buying your product, and like you say, you can eat it and throw it into a salad or whatever, and you're good to go. But I loved that because I love to cook too. And here it was. I can say now I can go back. I don't know how many recipes you've got on there, but there's a bunch.
Oh, there's a bunch.
And that was really cool. Yeah. So the site, you can see under this screen right now, you can see where to go about learning more about John Soules Foods. And so they are in pretty much all grocery stores. Is that right?
Yeah, we're in 25,000 grocery stores across the country, so we got really good distribution and been blessed from that standpoint. So, and we've got some really good new unique products, and we've rolling out new products all the time. We've got new products rolling out this week at Walmart that is breaded, fully cooked product, but it's in the fresh aisle, not the frozen aisle.
Oh, okay.
And so much quicker to heat and things like that. So it's really good. And then we're coming out with something for the Super Bowl. There's been a wing shortage. There's only 2 wings to a chicken basically, so they need to figure out a way to solve that. But and there's an overall protein shortage, but it's temporary. It's not long term.
Good to hear that.
Yeah, but we're coming out with something that kind of mimics a wing, and you'll see it in the grocery stores come hopefully right before the Super Bowl. We're going to call them Amazings.
Amazing.
And they're kind of they're kind of like a wing, but I actually think they're actually a little better. So
we'll watch for that. And will they stay on the menu, do you think?
Yeah, I do think
Probably.
so. We expect them to do well, and hopefully they'll stay out there.
That's just so fun. John, what is a word that you can own for yourself for 2022? Something that just what comes to mind in a word that is something you want to remember. I'll give you an example. I thought about this, and I ask every leader this now. Mine is simplify. And I'm telling you, John, when people tell the word to me, it goes in their heart, and it's burned there.
Yeah.
So what might be your word?
It would be one of two P words. It would either be patience or perseverance, I think. And perseverance comes naturally, I think, to a lot of people, but patience does not. And I've certainly learned, having children and then having almost 2,000 employees now, patience is something that you have to be successful. If you fly off the handle at every problem that comes up, and we're in an industry where there's lots of problems, every day. I mean, we deal with a perishable product, so
Sure.
it's limited time in order to manufacture it and do things to it. So people make mistakes, and if you're patient with them and understanding, then they're more likely to come to you and say, "Hey,
I made a mistake."
I made a mistake. Versus trying to sweep it under the rug, and then I'm still going to find out later. But now I can't do anything about it. If I know at the time it happens, I can probably prevent something else from happening down the line. So, again, I think learning through business, through marriage, and through raising a family, patience is something that maybe I was a little late to come by, but I'm definitely better at it now than I used to be.
And you're right. That's probably one of the major leadership attributes that leaders certainly have learned a lot during this pandemic, and that's super good. Oh, let's see. What else do I want to ask you? I was thinking about if the industry itself could be a TV series. I mean, it really couldn't it? Maybe.
Yeah, I think so. There are some films out there, about the food industry that are just not accurate.
So why don't you do one?
Well, a lot of the stuff that we do is kind of secretive, because we try to keep it from what our competitors are doing. But people don't understand that when we walk in at the beginning of the day into our facility, it's probably as clean or cleaner than an operating room. And so we spend about 6 to 7 hours cleaning our facilities, from about midnight to about 6 a.m. And then we go around and we take swabs and sponges and to check, and those are immediate results, to check to make sure everything is clean. Nothing's bacteria free, but what we call pathogens, it's pathogen free, Listeria, salmonella, things like that. And it's an extremely clean, process. It really is. And most business owners, food business owners, do not want their name in the news. No. So we try to produce as good a product as we can, as safe as we can, because your name in the news on a recall is that's not a good day. So I think there's a little bit of misconception out there that things are labeled a certain way to try to deceive the public. Well, the government lays out how we label things. I can't just label it however I want to. And there's I think a general thought process out there that there are, steroids and hormones, let's say, in chicken. But there's not. It's illegal by the USDA. The USDA doesn't allow it. Antibiotics has become a big thing, but there are no steroids or anything like that in poultry. And so I think there's just a misconception out there about that. And then the only other thing I would probably put in the book is that you go to your customers to solve problems, not to sell them what you make. So
nice. Say that again. That's nice.
So yeah, you go to customers to solve a problem for them, not pull out a list and say, "Hey, here's what I make. You want to buy something off of it?" Mm-hmm. I'm there, and we sell a lot to the Costco's and the Walmarts and those guys of the world, and those guys have lots of problems. They do. Mm-hmm. And so you're there to try to help them solve a problem so that they can treat their member the way they feel they want to be treated. Yeah. And so I'm in the business of solving food problems, maybe, but not not all type of problems, but food problems. And there are those out there, especially nowadays with shelves being empty and a lot of that is a function of labor and a shortage of a little bit of on the protein side, but a lot of that is labor related.
Yeah. There's a lot to what you do, and I knew that. I was so excited to have you on the show, in particular, since I love your product, and to learn about what the industry is about. So I wish you continued successes. What is your aspiration for the company now, moving forward?
That's a great question. It used to be to, grow a business to a point, sell it and, go live on a boat or, go do something crazy. And that, of course, that was probably in my 20s when I was immature and dumb. But no, now it's really to see the company succeed, to see it grow. I'd love to see my family involved with it, children, and that's a challenge. Mm-hmm. Multi-generational companies are always difficult. Mm-hmm. There was my father, my brother, and I. That's pretty manageable. Yep. Now I've got 2 girls. My brother has 2 boys and a girl. Now we're talking about 5 people.
There you
go. And then when they have kids, it just explodes, and that gets really, really difficult. So that's kind of a challenge, I think, to see that next generation and see them be put in the right spots in an organization and succeed and be happy. And none of us are pressing our children to be into the business, but if they want to, we'd love for them to be involved, and they all sound like they want to. But it's definitely now to enjoy the ride. Yeah. I really don't have an end goal. Just to continue to grow, continue to employ, great people and provide for them, put out great products and hopefully people to enjoy it. So if anyone is looking for a really good job, you have them available, right? We do. We have plenty of openings. Which is so interesting, John. It just is interesting to me that there's such a labor shortage and people are just, many of them not really wanting to go back to work yet. Yeah, and I think that they're not understanding too how that has a direct effect on what they see in the grocery store, what they see on the shelves, what they see, when they're buying clothes. Because I'm embarrassed to say this, but it is what it is. I mean, we're shorting almost 1 million pounds a week of product to our customers from all over the United States. And it's all because of labor shortages. Is that right? And, I've talked to some of our customers, basically apologizing and saying that, hey, we're trying to, whether it's pay more money, whether it's change hours, whatever it is. And they say, hey, you're actually doing better than most of my vendors. Yeah. So that's pretty rough. And I think that people need to understand that there's a bigger effect than what you would think. Mm-hmm. Well, I think eventually people will need to go back to work, John. We hope eventually. So. We hope so. So at the bottom of the screen, again, you can see where to contact John Souls Foods. And if you haven't tried them, I really mean this sincerely. They are the best. I have bought many, many products. I'm not just saying this. And if I could say one thing in there, if you don't mind. We want to hear about good and bad experiences both. Okay. My brother and I personally read every complaint that comes in through the website or over whatever social media. So we want to hear about a bad experience, and if you have a bad experience, we learn from it. We send you some free coupons. Hopefully, you're willing to try it. Try it again. We're not claiming that we can be perfect for every single bag that's out there, but we do try, and we do take those seriously, and then we post those complaints in our break rooms so our employees see them so that they can understand where we might have made a mistake or where we can improve upon. So we want to hear about all the experiences. I'm so glad that you interrupted me and said that, because that says a whole lot about you and about the company and the values that drive it. Good to know. I doubt that you'll have very many, however. So might have to have you come back in 1 year and find out what other products you've got. Sure. I'm going to look for them, that's for sure, on the grocery store. So thanks, John. Thanks so much for Thank you so much for having me. You are doing it right. Thank you so much. For sure. We appreciate it. And so before we go, I want to ask you a couple of questions. Now, this is Valerie,
as part of my leadership development firm kicking in here. I got to ask you some questions. Number one, do you have a brand, a personal brand as a leader? Do you? Just yes or no in your mind. Number two, can you clearly articulate your personal brand? Interesting. Number three, what part do you think presence has to do with your brand? In other words, how you show up, look, act, walk, talk, and are, how you communicate, just the behaviors that we can see. What are they like? Well, if you're questioning those things, let me give you a statistic. A survey was given to over 3,000 people, and these statistics have maintained the same answers through the years. And here it is. 53% of those 3,000 people said, I think I have a brand. 73% said, no, I can't clearly articulate it, which would say, so did you really have one? And 48% said, I'm not so sure if I have one or not. Where do you fall? Well, that's what I do in Valerie and Company. As a leadership coach and workshop facilitator, I always use these words. I want the leaders I work with, authentic ones, to make a mark and make it count. I don't work with anyone, by the way, that isn't authentic. If you just put a mask on and try to be somebody you're not my client. But I would love to have you as a client. So please email me, Valerie@valerieandcompany.com, if you want to learn more, how we can work together, and how I can support you in the things that are important to you and your organization. And with that, let me leave you with a Valerieism. Today I thought about this one to share. Goosebumps are good. Isn't that cool? Goosebumps are good. What do you think I mean by that? Well, I'll tell you. Have there been times when you have had an idea and it kind of raised a tingle in you, or a little spark inside? Goosebumpy. Pay attention to those goosebumps. Maybe you see an opportunity. You kind of get a little spark inside of you. Something lights up. I'm just going to call them goosebumps. They're good. Pay attention to them, because maybe it's something to follow. That's my story. I'm sticking to it. Till next time, have some more coffee. Bye for now.
Thanks for listening. To receive Valerie's voice, free monthly leadership tips, and to learn more about her leadership programs and coaching, visit her website, valerieandcompany.com. Next week, we'll be here again to inspire, engage, and equip you with teachable points of view from successful leaders who have been doing it right. Until then, lead authentically.